Nishtha Jain.
Actually, okay.
Sit down if you all don't mind.
Actually, I've been following PKU Ekta Ubraha, and they've been on the roads, every single day. And then, when people in India were focusing when they were on Delhi border, but in Punjab, in Haryana, protests and important struggles are going on a daily basis. So, and there are small victories which will lead to big victories later, and their protest hasn't stopped. There was a breakup group which also started protest in February, and they were stopped. They were not even allowed to enter Haryana. But the struggle and protests are going on, and it's amazing. I wish I could be there, but I had to finish this film. But the struggles are going on, and for me, this is. There was such a sense of despair, in 2020 with all that had happened, and how the students' movement had been repressed, then the citizen amendment movement. And when the farmers came, I think all eyes were on them. Are they also going to be repressed or suppressed like that? And I was very curious to know what's going to happen. So I landed there very early. And all the sense of dismay and despair just left me when I was with these farmers. And I was compelled, I had no money, no funding, nothing, and I was there for so long. The whole year, I was trying to write applications to get funding, and people were not interested in this because we don't know, some farmers' protests going on in India, it may go on for very long. So nobody was interested in this, and the news was not going on because mainstream media was just showing them as troublemakers or terrorists. So, but what I saw just pulled me, and I could not leave. And some of the people on the protest are here right now with us. And, they were running the libraries, Bhagat Singh Library. Some fellows are here. They were there for very long, giving medicines, etc., and supplies to farmers. And it's what I experienced. I just had to stay and record it for posterity.
So you sort of almost taken a fly on the wall, watching, but how did you? There were so many people shooting. The media was after it. It was. It had been made reduced into such a tamasha. How did you bring in a sense of trust, credibility? How did you build these relationships in a very short time?
When we reached there were thousands and thousands of people, and we didn't even have a press card. Sometimes, I don't like to interview people, so I just would sit in a corner and observe people, and especially stay over in the evening and night, and that's when trouble would happen. And they say, "Why are you here? Why you must be? Why are you here? You should not be here in the night." They were suspicious in initial days because the mainstream media was portraying them as troublemakers, etc. So they thought they were also as suspicious of media people. But initially when we went, they said, "No, you ask a question." They were very uncomfortable with observational shooting. क्या रात में बैठ के क्या shoot कर रहे हैं, क्या बनाना चाहते हैं. So they would ask us questions so that we could prove our credentials. And slowly, they saw us every day, and then slowly we built trust. Gurbaz I met on, very early, but he didn't understand what's a documentary and क्या करना होगा इसके लिए, इसमें character बनने का क्या मतलब है, whatever, he didn't understand. Slowly, after they saw that we would be there all the time, that we managed to build trust.
So you also raised money for this film?
Afterwards.
Afterwards, yeah. After you finished it?
After I finished it.
Okay, because you then did know, because I was just wondering what was this process of funding this film?
It's crazy. I put it in my own, I kept on. I didn't know, when I started that it take so long. And so I was applying, but I didn't get. I was only getting rejections in the first year, and I was surprised. Why are people not interested in this? And but the protest won't get over. And I said, if I don't continue shooting, then I lose whatever I shot. Because I shot for so many days already. So I had to continue shooting. Kept on. And then towards the end, when I had absolutely no money, I was writing on Facebook about it. So a lot of people were following my posts. And there was a professor, a very known professor, whom I had never met. He was following my post, so I asked him, I said, I've really run out of money. Can you raise something in the academic community? And he did that, a little bit of money, which kept me going on for another month or two. And then I was going to the pitching forum at ITFA, and I was packing my bags, and it was 19th November. And then I heard the news that Modi has repealed the laws. He's going to repeal the laws. So when I reached ITFA, everybody was like, my God, you're so lucky. Because, now people would be interested because there's a beginning, middle, and an end. So the funders want to come in when they see a story, not an endless, founders protest. So that's also another lesson, in, it was completely risky and very precarious funding. I didn't know how I had still had to pay the team. I had lost all, put all my savings in it. So yeah, it was a big risk.
And have you been able to screen this film all over? Is there, have you been stopped from screening this film?
Not as yet. Luckily, it's traveling all over the world. And
no, in India.
In India, I've in Kerala. And then I had many screenings in Bombay, some private and some public screenings. And now, after I have a few screenings in Doc NYC, Oslo, and Amsterdam. I have like 8 screenings, and then I'll start my Punjab screenings. Yeah.
So you don't have a census of it. That's the question.
No, I don't want to apply till. I don't want, I want the screenings to go on elsewhere, so I don't have to.
No, it's just, the precarity of a documentary filmmaker, it's not only money, it's also not being able to show. It's also the very subject of the film that is so precarious in a sense, yeah. Should we open it up for questions? Yes. Yeah.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much for documenting this because it's so important. I was going on off a day or two just to be there to experience it. But yeah, it made me remember of just seeing it as an outsider, fly on the wall. What is happening there? I had a question about it. You had a couple of central characters, one being Gurbaz and the other lady as well, and their narrative was sort of told. But while putting this together, while documenting this, you didn't know what would happen with them or what would their story. So did you have more characters as well that you were documenting parallelly, so that eventually when you reach a stage to put that all together, you would have certain storylines? What was that process?
I have 400 to 500 hours of footage. So I was following many people. Just imagining what it would be like. It's difficult, right? Nobody knew what's going to happen. So I was sort of covering my ground in terms of different kind of characters. So I had female character, I wanted a leader, and I wanted somebody like Gurbaz who doesn't know anything about farm unions. So he's like zero. And then from zero to, he's like a seed that protest, you see it budding. So as you're planning a kind of a storyline, possibly, what it would be, etc. So you're just sort of thinking while you're there, what would be. So yeah, so I shot with many more characters, many more things. At one time I thought I'd make it into a 6-part series, a docu-series, which it deserves because I have very, very rich footage, which will tell us a lot more about every finally, with funding and producers and things, I managed to just get this out. Maybe I have a lot of footage. I'll put it together. If I get some sort of support to make it into a much more detailed story of this movement. Yeah.
Where's your sound recorder?
I know he's shy.
Where is he?
He's there. Neeraj, come now.
Yeah, Neeraj, come. So sorry. I'm sorry, I got you away. No, because I suddenly thought of it because I thought of the kind of technical nightmare of doing this. How did you all, were you at the shoot, were you following, what was the, how did you?
Okay, so I want to talk about something. See, this is COVID time. I couldn't get my usual people to work with me. So I worked, all my crew, like the average age was, like one was 21-year-old, the camera person was 30, and the location sound recordist was 26. It was the first feature documentary that had never done anything of this scale, and to keep them even going and to work during the COVID time when none of the people would come and work because it was like that. To just get the whole team going for 135 days, to keep them motivated, not to leave me. Yeah, and so when this is my 8th film with Neeraj. He just brings life into the sound of films, and he spent several months to create the immersion. The immersion that you feel is really through sound, and he worked very hard to create that. So I just, yeah.
Could you talk about that a bit, because you probably got a lot of raw footage and.
Yeah, so generally we have been working and dealing with these kind of films for quite some time. How do we approach? Like sound-wise, it's not like we kind of are taking calls in terms of like this has a better quality or it sounds better, or because you can't get those things. What makes sense for the story needs to be. We need to get it together and make it just flow with the feel of the whole thing. So yeah, so so most of the sound, whatever is there in the film are actually from the footage. So we saw most of the footage. We saw how spatially we need to create that whole space where the highway is, where single border is, where that other border is, or where they are camping, or what kind of thing. So you're building and you're trying to try to create a lot of layers, so this is sometimes it's close by, sometimes the same, you are away from that but closer to something else. So that is what, so you try to kind of keep on creating and try to get it together and take this position.
It's such an uncontrolled space, basically. That must have been the real
because
challenge.
you get recordings from phone, there are camera recordings, the mics are not there.
That's the speeches
the
with all
loudspeakers are leaking in, and so it's fun.
Hi. Yeah. Thank you for making this film, because otherwise, as journalists, we interview people, we come and cover. I was there for 15 days, even before they went to Delhi. But bringing out the human angle in that protest is very, I think, challenging in that sense, and it brings that very beautifully. And though, as you mentioned that, finally there was a beginning, a middle and an end. Obviously the farm laws were repealed, but it doesn't end there. The fight is still on. But apart from that, what were your observations? What did this protest or this huge gathering gain in terms of a social impact?
Thank you for that question, because I would have often thought what kept me going on, and it was little things like interviewing that man, and he says that if we are poor, then we cannot share. The idea that if you're poor, you cannot share, and therefore, we need share, because if the wealth goes into just small hands, and then they are not going to share it. It's these little philosophies of life that and it would be full, these wise words or whatever. It was just all over. And I remember talking to Braha, and I said, it's gone on so long, and he said कि जितना लंबा चले उतना ज़्यादा better है, because I have here the attention of the people, and so we have libraries, and and people are reading books, and they're listening to these speeches which give them a lot of historical context to what is happening. And so he was like, the longer the better. And so this was very interesting take. I would go with a question of concern, etc., and he would always twist it. And he says, oh, actually now that sound is gone, the lesser the people, the stronger it. Now it's like a stream. So he always had a very different perspective. It was such a surprise. So he is also the person who was sort of motivating me philosophically to look at this movement other than the rhetorical stuff, and what is it deep down that is making these people go on. So it was always these little things. Chardi Kalam, what does Chardi Kalam mean? It means to keep your spirits high. And I promise you, not even once during and talking to hundreds and thousands of people, really, I never anybody said something like, gave a negative comment. Like, I am so full of negativity all the time, and it's a very urban thing. We don't have that kind of resilience or that resourcefulness. But the farmers never ever, they said, see, look, we've already won. It's a matter of time when they declare. See, it's a very different attitude going in, and that is the reason I said I have to make this film. Because it's not about farm laws bhi ho sakta hai. It could have been about anything. I wanted to make it about inqilab di kheti. You are farming this. What is this revolution? As if we change nahi aaya hai, whatever. But the revolution is that you're farming the change. Right? So I got this idea very early on, just with my interaction with the farmers, and really their love kept me going on, and I had no money. If I had to feed my team, I really would have packed up and gone. So वहाँ पे लंगर होता था. So we got free food. And if I had to put people up in hotels, so गाँव में पहुँचते थे, I would just say, we have 5 people who come in, driver और हमारी 4 लोगों की team. And people would put us up in their houses, अच्छा निष्ठा यहाँ रहेगी, यहाँ रहेंगे, and बदली, whatever. We would be given a space, we would be given food. So, working on no budget, I could not have done it without the love of these people and this community care, this culture of sharing. This is my message. This is what kept me on, this is the message. Sorry. Yeah.
Ma'am, first of all, I must congratulate you. The very honest portrayal of the farmers' movement. All said and done, one thing I think this protest movement achieved was the unity between the Punjab and Haryana parties, especially the Punjab and Haryana people. You have mentioned it in just a article, because Haryana people started Punjab as Bada Bhai, elder brother, and the Punjab people started Haryana people as a younger brother, and they were served lassi, butter, dahi, fruit, everything by Haryana people. The neighboring
they used to bring, because Haryana mein the na, electricity, their land, and every day milk and vegetables, food, the Haryana farmers would bring.
Yes.
So many things I wanted to show in the film. These little details, the film would have been longer, that's all. But it's such an important thing. It's such an important thing.
Now, second thing, you have laid much more emphasis on the Tikri border movement, led by Ekta.
More on Bahadur.
Okay. No, it was more organized, maybe they have more numbers, but the Sindhu border protest was much more diversified, culturally, socially, and geographically. They were from all states of people. even they were professors, doctors, physicians, intellectuals, everybody was there, and artists. And secondly, no political person was invited, was allowed to speak. Third thing is, the catalyst of the movement started at Shambhu border. In Punjab and Haryana, when the Haryana police started bursting those water cannons on the farmer, and the farmer broke the barrier. That was when the movement really got its momentum and started. The pre-water people started went only 3 days afterwards. And then there people also in the deep saying that he was the water cannon man, he opened the water cannon towards the police personnel and all that. And then the movement started from the Shambhu border. There was another one also. We have actually mentioned it, and maybe get the state of time and all that. That's all I think I want to say, because maybe you cannot say everything at the same time. But I think I have made my point.
Also, I wasn't there the first 3 days, so I didn't have the footage. So, and so many people are making films, so wo aa jayega.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question. Thank you. It was such a moving film. My question is about the editing process. I'm curious how you approached that journey.
Oh my god, trauma. Because finally we got French funding, and translation then was, we had to do hundreds of hours of translation, and that was like the biggest challenge I faced in my life. Because the editor also said that, I want subtitle rushes. And that's when the whole thing just, went out of hand. Also, a lot of, the language was not like the mainstream Punjabi, it just changes from place to place. So to get, translators, to do that work, it was just humongous. And for a year we were translating and editing at the same time. But if it wasn't for my experience of editing films, I think this would have been a challenge. Because a lot of people have shot, but they haven't, put together a film. And because nowadays, I also shot this film on a DSLR camera. And I had no funding, just simple DSLR camera. And so, you can shoot a lot, but then what do you do? How to tell the story? How do you do the narrative? So that was an important thing. It took time and experience. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Okay, last question.
I have a question. Did we forget about the pacing?
Yeah.
Did we forget about the pacing? The Dalit man whose carcass was tied up over there, was chopped up and left there. It seems like an honest portrayal of an event in which we are hearing Janta consistently. The idea of a Dalit who was butchered there is something that might have been important, and I wanted to know the reason of its elimination as a question.
Because I didn't have the footage, I wasn't there. I don't know how to build that up. So that was just the reason. How do you build up an incident in which you have, no footage at all? That was the only reason.
What about the Lakhimpur की तो footage भी नहीं थी ना आपके पास?
हाँ तो वो तो मिल गया मुझे वीडियो, बट हाँ ये था, उसकी फुटेज थी नहीं ना. एंड आई टेल यू वन थिंग, आई वुड लाइक टू इंक्लूड मेनी थिंग्स, बट सिर्फ अगर वो मैं इंसिडेंट में लाती, और एक लड़की का इंसिडेंट भी हुआ था, तो वंस आई ब्रिंग दिस इंसिडेंट्स टू अनपैक देम इन अ फिल्म, उसका आगे भी पीछे भी और पूरा उसका क्या रेजोल्यूशन है, तो वहीं पे मुझे 10 मिनट चाहिए. समझ रहे हैं आप? बिकॉज मैं इसको ऐसे नहीं दिखा सकती कि इन्होंने ऐसे कर दिया खत्म, उसका फिर पता भी चला बाद में कि किसने किया. वो पूरा इंसिडेंट अगर दिखाएंगे तो मुझे another 5-10 minutes चाहिए. That was the problem, and with no footage. That is the thing. Otherwise, not because I think it was very important.
Oh God, these questions will go on and on. Okay, one last one. She's been, sorry, but we have to.
First of all, thank you very much for the film. I'm not a farmer, but it's given me ideas as to what I can do in a Trump America. It's coming.
Thank you.
My question is actually, first I also enjoyed the intergenerational exchange, the fact that it was young people and old people. and I enjoyed the poetic wisdom of a lot of what you captured. I was delighted but surprised by the intense criticism of Modi. I didn't realize that people would allow that to be captured on film. Did you have any problems with that, or was there things you felt you had to cut out, or etc.?
No. I could have censored myself, I didn't. But people were very angry with it. When my money ran out in France and I edited the film myself, a lot of these things were not there and I put them in. Then my editor said, Nishtha, you better prepare for asylum. Cut this out and put this on, you know. I said, let's see, you know, because I think all of us are self-censoring all the time, and that is creating an atmosphere of fear. And the more we speak out, then we create a different atmosphere, and I think that's very important. So we should be able to speak, and that was the reason I said I'm going to include this.
Thank you. Very good.